Hello and welcome to another episode of Fridays with the Chakontas. I'm Mr. Chakonta.
And I am Mrs. Chakonta.
And yeah, we're back with our new I don't think we're a new series. No, it's not a new series. What is it?
Just another chat, basically.
Okay. And this is where we're just going to be looking at some situations online and then trying to give advice in the best possible way.
Yes.
So I don't know what we're going to name this session. So we'll find the best way to name it.
Yeah.
So yeah, be patient with us. But yeah, we'll give the scenario. So maybe it's Friday with the Chakonta reviews or response or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know which one.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Give us ideas.
Yes, that's it. You can give us some ideas. So I'll get straight into it. So I'm going to read the so this person has written the following, and then I'll read that for us. So they've said, my husband and I have been married for 5 years now, and we have 2 children together. My husband is a good man, and in some ways, but I only have issues when it comes to him caring for the family. My husband has a short hand when it comes to giving me money for our house needs. For him, when he pays for the rentals, then it's enough. It's not like I ask for money for my personal pleasure, but it's for the family. I can literally count how many times he has given me money for my hair or for my basic needs in the 5 years we've been married. When I ask for something, it's either he will buy for himself and bring home, or in rare cases, ask how much it is and give me the exact amount. That got me to start a small business so that I can take care of myself and my children. I pay for my children's school fees and buy what they need as they are attending baby class and reception so I can focus on my business. It's not like he gets paid less money. He's a supervisor at his workplace and he's well paid, but just for him to give me money, it's a hustle. So it's from the little business I do that I buy house needs, and even when he finds I've bought things, he never bothers to ask. The most painful part is that he gives his family whatever they would ask for. He buys all the groceries and all, but he nothing. I've engaged him on this issue, and all I get is I have no money. At some point, he told me he's serving alone, but was just a lie. I spoke to one of his aunties I'm close to, and she promised to talk to him, but nothing has changed. And now it's even worse. Now that he's seen that I'm doing business, as he thinks I'm making a lot of money when there is nothing much. I've been talking to him about us getting a farm or a plot, of which he claims he does not have money. So from last year, I decided to start saving little by little and managed to get a small plot. When I showed him the papers, he wanted to put it in his name, claiming that we are a couple. I refused. It caused a lot of arguments. Again, this is something I talked to him about several times, but he did not have interest. It's been a hassle. I really do not understand why some men are so comfortable seeing their wives and families suffer when they have the means to help and end that. He's a big buyer for his biological family, and yet for us, he's ever broke.
Okay.
Yes, that was a long one, but I hope we got the gist. Mr. Chakonta, tell us.
What are your thoughts first?
No. I came to you first. Don't even know where to start, do you?
Yeah, there's a lot. So there's a lot to digest through the whole situation that you've put out. So, but I don't know, to be honest, because she is saying that they've been married for 5 years.
Yeah.
And in the course of 5 years, they've got 2 kids.
Yep.
And in those 2 kids, I'm guessing they are not at the age of going to school, right?
He said, she said reception and nursery or something like that.
Okay. But then when he says about the money situation, he only pays the rent.
Yes.
Does he only pay the rent, or he doesn't pay anything for the house, like food bills?
Yes, that's what she's implying. That he just pays for the rentals. So
we assume that.
Yes, he says for him, he pays for the rentals, then that's enough. So that suggests that's all he's paying for. And she's saying from her business, she's doing all the grocery shopping and the food and the school fees and everything else. And if you think about it, if that's the case, well, it depends where you live, but when you put the rentals and then you think about all the other bills,
yeah,
probably hers there's a chance hers comes up more than his. But it does depend where you live.
Yeah, but I think there's also the context, maybe different context. Let's put it like, let's say in our context,
like in the UK.
Yes.
So if it's in the
let's
UK, then yes.
This situation is between you and me.
The rentals probably are. Yeah, the rentals are less than the rest of the bills.
So yeah, like let's say in the UK context, there's rent. We've got our utility bills. We've got council tax and everything like that. So like,
then you got food bill.
I'm only basically, I have a lot of money, but I'm only putting money for the bills, for the rent.
Yeah, but then you got food bill.
And then you are basically paying for the rest of the things.
Yes, and then you got school fees. And then you got kids, when they're going to school, they're going to need transport. They're going to need school lunches. So there's a lot more.
And the other money that I'm getting, I'm using it for other
well, she says that members. He's using it for his family members.
Okay. And it says he doesn't have, but he gives, and when he gives, it's just exact.
Yes.
Is she irritated by that?
Well, she ain't happy.
Okay, but he gives, right? When she asks.
She doesn't. I think she said something that she doesn't ask often.
Okay.
But when she does ask, he either gives the exact amount, or he goes to buy.
Okay. I don't see any problem.
I can literally count how many times he has given me money for my hair or just for my basic needs in 5 years. If she can count that, that's not very often. In 5 years, if I'm coming to you asking for, I shouldn't be able to know. We eating every day.
Okay. Based on the scenario, I think there's a lot of things. If we're just going to take it on face value, I agree it is wrong. I agree that if he's just basically saying, I'm going to pay for the rent and that's it, the rest you need to basically do whatever needs to be done. And then there are also kids. And then you're like, you're not taking care of your kids. So I'm just like, why is this man behaving this way? It's strange.
You're not really taking care of your family. You're taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
As long as the rent is paid, for me anyway, I feel like there's no two ways about it. This is completely wrong and it should not be happening.
Yeah.
I'm probably, I'm just like, it doesn't make sense. You are, if you were living by yourself, if anything, you're getting a good deal. Yeah. You're paying for rent and your food is catered for, your bills are catered for. And perhaps he will have other bills. If he's going to work, he'll have transport, he will have lunch, clothes and stuff like that for himself. So yeah, he has other needs that he needs the money for.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. If we have to look at it, let's say from a biblical perspective, as in, I think men are called to provide and protect. And I don't think he's doing a good job by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It was a bit low, but now it's better.
So yeah, I don't think he's doing a good job of providing and protect, especially when he knows he has the means to do that. Mm-hmm. He is withholding. Because I know like some people who can want to provide and protect, but they don't have the means. It's just hard.
Yeah.
And every little money that they make, they put it into the household.
Mm-hmm.
And it may not be much, but it's everything that they need. Mm-hmm. And I think it goes back to the aspect of the parable about the woman who gave, I think it was a penny?
Yeah. And she gave something and it was everything that she had.
Everything that she had. And I think sometimes, even from the woman's side, your women's side, if a man can give everything, he's giving you his paycheck, everything. I think there has to be a level of understanding that this man really loves us and this man really works for us. Because I think sometimes on the women's side, there can be a side of where even the paycheck is diminished because of the value of how much it is.
Yeah.
And when God is actually saying, that person has actually given more.
Yeah.
More, I don't think is measured based on how the world looks at it.
Yeah.
More is not because I'm bringing an X amount of money. It's not based on the amount. It's about, how can we say this?
No, it's not about the amount. It's about, the quality. What are you giving?
It's about what you're giving.
Mm-hmm.
So like we're saying, if he's giving everything, and let's say if your amount is matching mine and your amount is only 25%, so who's giving more? If I give in, let's say you give even a bit more, but it's 25% of
my salary,
salary, and you're saying whatever, who's giving more? On the surface, you've given more.
Yeah.
But on the other side, it's like, I've given more because I've got nothing.
Everything.
I've given everything. So there has to be a level of where we have to understand and say, there has to be a sense of giving everything should be something that should be encouraged, especially in relationships, especially both sides. We're not just talking about the husband and the wife. You bring everything together. And I think because of his attitude, it's also brought disunity in the way they have now been thinking. Because even for her, I think her response...
If you bring it up to you.
I think her response is on the side of where she's now reacting. Even when she now does something for herself, she's behaving the same way.
Yeah.
Because they're saying, oh, the guy is like, oh, it's our money and all that stuff. And I understand there's a level of where she's now trying to say, how can you do A, B, C, D? And now you're coming to me and saying, that is you wanted to be put in our name. Because of the level of now distrust, she's already now becoming, she's now also protecting herself and putting certain things for herself. And I think that's also maybe a bit wrong because she's reacting and not also now living in the sense of trying to show him, look, even what I'm doing, I'm basically giving everything. But these are hard conversations. They're hard conversations, and I think there has to be a level of wisdom that comes in these decisions. Because one person will be thinking and saying, look, I've put everything, and then even this little thing, this is my thing. This is my thing. But I think it's just the concept of having certain things and saying, these are my things. And because that these are your things, they become a situation of where it becomes hard for you to move on and understand. I don't think there's a one size fits all on how people should handle their money situations. I think if you want to have a joint account, I agree. If you want to have separate accounts and put certain money together for certain needs, I agree, and all that stuff. Because the other thing is also the dynamics of certain family cultures are different. Because there's some places of where, I say, his family needs are a lot from his family side, and because he's working, is like he feels the burden to help a lot. And because of that, I kind of understand where the need is. So I don't know how he is communicating that to his wife. What do you think about that?
I think when you say, there's no one size fits all.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I think what the first thing first is, we should all know how much we're making. Like, you should know what your husband is making, and he should know what his wife is making. There needs to be that level of transparency. Their paycheck needs to be known. When there's a bonus, that needs to be declared. When there is a pay rise, that needs to be declared. And then you make a decision about how do we actively do this. I don't think that, for example, because this is how you end up getting in situations where it is a problem. Because let's say you say, okay, one size doesn't fit, it doesn't fit all, but nobody knows what the other person is making. So you say, let's split the bills 50-50. And then actually that's someone's 10%, that's somebody's 100%. Because you all don't know how much you're making. There's no accountability. One person's building a house, the other person is trying to start a business. There's no accountability. There's no transparency. You're naked and ashamed in the bedroom. Gotta be naked and ashamed in the bank details.
I agree with that.
So I think it needs to start there, that there is a level of transparency. And then you just decide how to, having a joint bank account. If you all don't have a joint bank account, it's not a problem, but you just decide, how do we distribute this money? I'm making 2, you're making 1. Together, we've got 3,000. How do we distribute this money? What are our needs?
Yeah.
And if these are our needs, one person, it might be easier if one person's paying this bill because it's just easier, or they've always paid that bill and one person pays that. It's fine, however you do it. So I think that's my take on the one person fits. It doesn't, how you do it, you can decide what works for you.
Yeah.
But I do think having a joint account is a good idea. I actually think it is a good idea. Although, we're saying it's not, you don't have to. And no, you don't have to. But I personally think it's a good idea because there's a whole lot of transparency there. You're not just, oh yeah, I'm just going to give that to my family. It's like, oh, you got, it's like, when you take the money out, it forces you to be accountable. It forces you to be responsible for both of you.
Yeah.
So I think having a joint account is a good idea, but that's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
What was the other question you asked me? Or something else you asked?
No, what?
I can't remember.
No, I just what did you think?
Oh yeah, the whole situation.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, for the sense of, I agree with you what you're saying. It's, yeah, you've got a personal opinion on that, and I think, but we're not saying this is the way things should run. It fits best for both of us. I know why your idea is coming from. The saying, look, if we're naked and ashamed in the bedroom, that should also translate in every aspect of life. What about on the other side? I think I asked was about the responsibilities that he has on the extended family side. What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, okay.
And how do they communicate? Has he effectively communicated?
Yeah,
that?
I think that's key, and I think that starts from the very beginning. A lot of people don't just start having responsibilities for their family a lot, but I mean, some people, things change, and then you become, you start to help out more. You start to help out your family more financially in marriage.
Yeah.
But the majority of the time, I feel like a lot of people already know the type of family they have, or the level of responsibility they have towards their family before they get married. Even if that changes, I think communication from the very beginning is key, because you have to say, okay, you have to declare, okay, I pay school fees for my brother. I give my mom £500, 500 kwacha a month.
Yeah.
Like, okay, how does it work? Because I believe that when you're getting married, you're starting afresh.
Yeah.
You're literally scratching it. Just because you paid school fees for your brother before you got married does not mean that you will be paying for them after you get married. It might not be financially feasible.
Yeah.
One, you might find that, okay, you are not working, or he or she stops working. Like, I feel like we carry a lot of responsibilities into marriage sometimes without remembering that we're starting afresh. But starting afresh doesn't mean you're cut off your family. No, it just means putting everything on the drawing board. This is how much I give to my parents. This is how much. So then when you're all sitting down, we're saying we've got 300 kwacha, but we've got £3,000. One family might be more dependent financially than another family. But that doesn't also mean that you have to do 50-50 either. But if you start to feel like one family is benefiting more, you communicate. And it also how you communicate. You don't just say, oh, you're always giving money to your family. What about my family? You sit down and you say, okay, I'm concerned about A, B, C, D. Us doing this, when you have children, that changes. What you were doing before, if you were giving family this, that will check. Like for him, he now has 2 children. So a lot of the money he might have been given to his family now has to go to his children's school fees. So that's going to change. But then I think also family can be a problem. They now start saying things like, oh, since you got married, blah, 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 blah. Or since you never used to be greedy, but now that you're married, we don't see your money. And it's like, well, and first of all, and also you don't need to be naked and ashamed with your family about your paycheck. Sometimes they don't need to know. I think a lot of the times they don't need to know.
Oh, I think I agree with what you're saying, but I think you're forgetting the let's say from the dynamics we come from.
Yeah.
It's not as easy, like, let's say from like where we live in the Western world, we go get married and you can easily disattach from your family. And you can get there's no financial burden like the way it is, let's say, from where we come from. So on the other side, I'm just playing like I'm not saying I agree with what he's doing.
I don't think there's anything wrong with what he's doing. The problem is his wife. He's neglecting his first home.
I agree with that, but I'm saying these things probably shouldn't even be communicated in this aspect of courtship and saying like, look, this is how we live at home. Since I'm the oldest, this is how I basically have to do my finances. and everything like that. And I think this is because this thing has not been communicated. I think here there's an aspect of, I don't think this is a big issue. I think it's just the thing of the communication is not there. And because there's no openness for them to basically tap into the thing of, let's sit down and let's communicate both ways and see how it can work best for both of us. Let me understand your situation and let me understand the situation here. I think for him personally, I agree. His way of spending money is neglect. It feels like neglect towards the wife and the things of the household. I don't know. The reason is because he's saying he's giving money to other people, and it sounds wrong. But I just don't understand why a person will be giving other people money to the other people when his children are basically suffering.
But they're not suffering because I think there's a lot. It's really hard to truly, because we're trying to look into the story and then talk generally.
Yeah,
I get what you mean. It's like it's not making sense. It would be really nice to see his side of the story because, and I think that's where I started from transparency, because it seems that she said he's a supervisor, but that doesn't mean you know exactly how much he makes.
Yeah,
and it seems that maybe he also doesn't know how much she makes, and he doesn't know the hustle she has to go through to make that money. But because there's food on the table, because she's paying the school fees, she's doing all those things, it's like, why are you complaining? It's being done. But I'll probably phrase it a bit differently. When you said you don't think it's a big deal, I think it is a significant deal. He is the head of the home, so he needs to know how much is coming in the house and how much is going out of the house. He's the head of the home, so he needs, it's not just, he is, she has spoken, she from the message, it seems that she has tried to communicate with him. She's tried to have a conversation with him, and he would just say, I'm broke. And it's like, how are you? I think I get what you mean, where it says, it just seems so, it doesn't make sense. And so you're like giving him the benefit of the doubt, because you're just like, no one's gonna do that. Like, it just seems strange.
Yeah,
it's like something's not adding up. Are we missing something from this guy that it's just a matter of communication and he doesn't get it? But it could be. Some people are like, well, we're managing, I'm paying the rent, I've done my, or maybe that's his idea, maybe that's how he grew up, and that's his idea of taking care of the family. Because we don't really know about their general relationship. How is their relationship like, in terms of just them as a couple, and his relationship with his children. Is he an involved parent? Is he an involved husband? Is he active? Does he come home after work? Is he always out? Like, we don't know. He might generally just be like, the house is taken care of. I don't understand why you're complaining.
Yeah. And I think this is why why I maybe say it can be an easy thing. It's about communication, is what I'm saying.
I see what you mean.
I'm not just saying like it's an easy thing, because what communication is key in this situation. The more we understand why our money behaviors are a particular way, we can understand and how we can find a healthy way of doing this. There's a certain thing I know about money. Money is so there's a spirit of money that people want to hold on to it so much, and to the point of, even when we are discussing on how we have to deal with these things, it's a very contentious discussion.
I'm with you.
And because of that, it becomes very heavy, because some people will feel, look, I've worked for all these things and I feel entitled. But in the case of marriage, it's like, look, you're working for the family, and if you're working for the family, provide for your family's needs. But also on the other side, I think maybe on the girl side, she's saying she wants money for her hair, she wants A, B, C, D. I agree. Maybe she needs those things. And the other thing I'm saying, he does give when she asks, but she says she can count on her hand.
Because he says he's broke. Remember, at the end, it's like every time she asks, he says he's broke.
But
where's the money going, and how much money is left after he pays the rent?
Okay, but Richard, that's what I'm saying. I feel like you're not seeing it from his other side. Because there's another thing. She said he gives money to his family. That's where the money is going.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's not like, I don't think he's like withholding the money. I think the problem here, he feels like hypothetically, is what I'm thinking. He's trying to serve two masters. And because of that, it's now becoming conflicting. One side is not satisfied, and one side may be satisfied, but is that his role to do that?
I get you. I get you.
And because of that, now the one who needs that role for you to step into those situations of providing and protecting, that is your role as a husband, feels neglected. But I'm saying, if he effectively communicated his responsibilities towards his family, they can now sit down and say, okay, this works for me, this does not work for me, and A, B, C, D. And I think this is also in the aspect of courtship, because as you are courting, you're understanding the people's family dynamics. So that if he says, look, I have to send my money for my sister who's at school and everything like that. But to be honest, I don't agree with that, where like the oldest now becomes the responsibility. It falls on now the oldest or the one with money and everything like that. I think those things are good things when they do that.
But they shouldn't be like, it's mandatory.
It's mandatory.
You feel the burden on your head. Like you've now become the father of the house, and now you're struggling to juggle two homes.
Yes.
So it's true. It's just the way she's described it. It makes him sound very careless, but perhaps he's just a guy who is struggling to understand his role in his home and his role as a son, and we don't know the family dynamics. Maybe before the wife came into the picture, it was just like you said, he's the one working, and we know there are multiple scenarios that this could be playing out and why. And he just doesn't understand that my kids are clothed, they're fine. And I think there is that element of ignorance where he's just like, yeah, they're fine, they're taken care of. We're doing this 50-50. I'm paying rent and you're doing the rest. I don't understand why you keep asking me for money. But I do see an element of selfishness, because when she went and bought the plot, which again is going to bring some problems, because there's this thing about us women, when we don't feel like we're getting what we want, we're quite good at being self-sufficient and going ahead and doing what,
and I think that's
what we want to do.
That's one of the things maybe I think I wanted to bring in, because maybe he married her knowing we are self-sufficient, both of us are able-bodied to run this house, but that's communication too. But for her, she basically now reacts and says, I'm going to get this money. On top of that, I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and I'm going to buy a plot and start. She's now living a whole lifestyle by herself.
Yeah, we do that when we feel like, and I'm not saying it's okay. It's not correct, because she's gone and bought a plot in her name. Now he's wanting to put either change, because the way she's written it, it's like he wants it to be in his name. That's what she said. But I wonder if she also meant he wants his name there.
I think he's saying probably he wants his name because he's saying we're married. But I also agree on the other side of like saying, look, if we're married, then tell me what's happening with the money. So it now becomes, it can't, then because of the lack of communication, she's expecting to be provided and protected for, which is right. When now she goes and provides and protects and finds a way of doing what she's now saying, he's saying, I expect also for you to share this with me. Which is right. But she's saying no. So now the problem is, I don't think she said no. She said no.
Did she say no? I refused. Oh yeah, she refused, and they ended up arguing.
Yeah. And I think now that becomes an issue of, now it brings a whole dynamics of how have they talked about money from the beginning.
Yeah.
And this is now why I think the whole issue is about the communication. This is where it started from. Communication. And then communication is always feeling like, oh, you're a manager. How much are you making? And I think she's counting that too much. You're a manager. I think so. I'm not sure.
I disagree with you there, Mr. Chakontas.
Yeah, but I think,
because I think she I count your money. When you're like, I'm like, oh, okay, I do count your money.
Yes, but I think that's a bad habit. We need to talk about that.
I just know how much money is coming in.
I don't count your money, and I think
that's just you, babe.
You probably even make more money than me, to be honest.
That's just you. You know, you don't count money. You don't count my money. Me, I count.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a sidetrack. We're looking at each other, giving each other faces.
You know what?
We sidetracked.
To be saying, but I don't know, your comments will be saying, this girl is a problem.
I know.
She even more money,
but yet she counts his money.
I know.
I like money. I don't love money, babe. Don't even start getting excited and saying, yeah, I knew it. Okay,
you shouldn't be saying those things. You know, some people are listening about this thing.
I know, I don't like money. I'm saying, okay, let's not lie. Let's just keep moving.
Maybe you know what? Just like you said, maybe he thinks.
Maybe she's too. Like me. Maybe she is a bit like me. Because I would actually if my husband is this, I'm in that scenario, I would, and I work, I will be filling in the gaps where I can. But then and then my brain will be like, but as a supervisor, I estimate that you'll be making 10,000. So why is it that you're declaring 4,000 in the house? So when I'm coming to ask you for money, because I'm sure on my end, how are you not able to, why is it that you're always telling me you're broke? Are you not saving? etc. So I feel like I guess I understand, and I do wish we had the other side of the story. But you're right when you say this all comes down to communication. Yeah. How do you and this is for other people listening, who are hoping to get married. How do you need to have these conversations? And the thing is, for me, I feel like sometimes we just talk on the surface about it. Okay, we're gonna live together, rent. Yeah, I'll cover the rent. And so maybe she just assumed he meant rent and the overheads of the house. But okay, what about the rent? What about the water bill? What about the electricity? What about the council tax if you're in the UK? Break down the bills. What about tithe? What about all of this? Break down all your bills even before you've gotten married, because this, you lessen the thinking that, I expected it. I thought he would do this. I thought she would do this. You have all that conversation. And so even, family members, who are the things, direct debits, any debt, all of that kind of stuff. So when it comes to a situation like this, then but people change though. It's another thing. People change. So you can't always plan everything to the T. People change. She could have changed on him. He could have changed on her. We don't know.
But that's what I'm saying. This conversation is more about try and error. That's why we can't give an absolute aspect of saying this is how it needs to be. Because I think even when you fail, you learn a bit. There has to be room for we need to learn what works best for us.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. Another point I also wanted to say, maybe the conversations here is so vague, so we can't really get into it. Because I'm saying, if she's paying for nursery for her children, just like, okay, she has a bit of money, but maybe they agreed that the children don't need to go to nursery.
That's true. And then she's like, no, they gotta go.
She wants a different lifestyle. That he said, I can't find that lifestyle. And I think that becomes a problem also. She needs to also understand the lifestyle and the pressure that he's also watched this. And then this is what I think you women need to understand. When you're marrying somebody, you're going under his leadership.
Yeah.
And because of that leadership, you need to understand how everything functions in his life so that you can be a helper in those situations for him to do whatever he needs to do, to be faithful in every avenue of whatever God has blessed him. If that was a situation where she said she decided to marry him and she knew from the beginning he takes a big responsibility of the things of the household, she needs to also, okay, is this going to be a problem for me? Is this going to be a problem? Okay. In fact, if she's so loving, she can actually say, okay, you know what? I made some money, X amount of money. And since you send some money to your sister or your whatever, here's some money. I made extra money. And it's like she's also showing that she's also concerned of the things that he's concerned about.
Well,
and that is one of the things. And I think
I get you. And I get what you're saying.
Through that, it also builds a relationship of, okay, she really understands what I'm going through. So now he's also softening his heart and saying, this woman actually loves me. And through that and everything like that, but because there's an aspect of not communicating, she may feel like, I actually even gave that amount of money. I could have used it for my hair or something like that.
Yeah, because it's the communication. Because if the sister needed money, then he would have gone to the wife and said, my sister needs money. This is, you don't just be giving money out just because they need it.
From the issue, I don't think he asks his wife.
No, he doesn't. That's why that's also a problem.
Yeah.
Unless it's something that's been agreed on to say every month we'll be sending this amount of money to my family.
Yeah.
But from the situation, it doesn't seem so.
Yeah.
So why? So then you're gonna get that attitude back of, why would I be giving you money and you're not even. So for her as a woman, she's just like, I need to fight for my house and for myself and my kids.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, but let's give now some issues where I think if we had to analyze it from a biblical perspective.
Mm-hmm.
From a biblical perspective, I said communication.
Yeah.
Their communication is off and is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Men need to understand that when they live and cleave to their wives, their first responsibility is their wives.
Mm-hmm.
There's a problem with our African culture where that is not defined well.
Mm-hmm.
And because it is not defined well, it becomes an issue where it becomes a hard thing for living and cleaving.
Yeah.
But even in the process of living and cleaving, if that is the way the culture is, because I think also God has also given us a freedom of how culture should also run. We can run our cultures as long as it is godly.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, if the wife understands that this is where I'm going and I'm getting married, these people live this way, that woman also needs to understand. Mm-hmm. And she needs to be able to ask and be able to say, oh, this is how these people live. And because they live this way, I've now come into this family. How do we live to the best of our ability? And how do we do it to the best? How can we communicate so that we know our needs are taken care of? I help my husband take care of his needs in the what's this. We help everybody who needs to be helped. Even from even his side, he's basically saying, oh, this is the way my wife lives. Because my wife lives this way and all that stuff. How do I help her family and everything like that?
Yeah.
Because I think now you have getting married. If you're helping your family, you should also help her family.
Mm-hmm.
You should extend that help towards her family. But I think it's now the issue of where they're saying our basic needs will come here and then your families would do A, B, C, D, which is okay. Because I think if that's what's driving you, then that's something you should also be able to do. But I think one of the things with the wedding situation is two families have come together. And I think those families should not put pressure on their children so much who are getting married and now trying to take whatever they are making and trying to take it out of that. But the problem is our African culture, this sieves out in various ways. And I think it's so easy for us to say it is wrong. But I think on other fronts, we see how also some things are good. Where let's say they've got a kid and the parents or the sisters are helping out. We don't see it, let's say in our context here. We don't, it's very hard for, let's say, our parents or our sisters to come and help us out on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just the way the dynamics of culture. So I think there's an aspect of win and lose some. But I think that on the front, on the biblical perspective, they need to understand their first responsibility is your wife. And that is what God is calling you to do. And again, God is also calling us to also be there for our parents and whatever. Because even in Timothy, where it basically says if one is a widow, the first should get help from their family before they extend that to the church. So there has to be a level of what's this. So we don't know the dynamics, especially if we're looking at it from a biblical context. But also on the other side, now she's reacting, and her reaction is now looking and saying, I can provide these things for me. And because I've got these problems, why does he want also what I have? And now that is now also just bringing a wage and bringing them far apart. If he's neglected his duties and then now you're doing them, you shouldn't get bitter and now say whatever. But these are very complicated issues because, hey, when it comes to money, people get so attached. And even what I say right now, to be honest, I can't give a level of advice or anything and everything like that. I think the aspect is to pray for wisdom and ask that God may help you in these situations. because these are tough situations. And because of the toughness of the situations and the way we also idolize money in this world, it's something that God needs to help us and change our hearts so that we should live in unity. Because the main issue that we guys are coming to as a couple, one is to glorify God in your marriage. Two, God has also called you to multiply. And those children are this, so take care of them. The father is called to provide for the child and also protect. The mother is called to nurture them and submit to the authority of the husband. But this needs to be constantly communicated and asking for God's wisdom on a constant basis so that they do not always now go on their own directions. God needs to lead them and say, this is how I want your household to live. I don't know if I've made sense.
Very much so, Mr. Chakontas. Thank you.
So what are you?
No, I agree. I don't think there's anything I can add to that. I think you summarized it very well and went back to the key point, to the key element in this.
Mm-hmm. So what were the key points? Were you listening?
I was listening.
Communication. What else?
Understanding the roles of a man and a woman.
Yeah.
The differences and how they should work together.
Mm-hmm.
I think that and asking God for wisdom.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing, because these things, you can see an aspect of cultural issues are now seeping into our Christianity, and I think God needs, because there certain things where like this is wrong, and you just have to put it aside. But there are certain things about culture where it's like you can see the danger of where it's going. And if you enable it, then it becomes wrong. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
But the principle of you doing that, because look, you taking care of your extended family, that's a good thing. But the danger, if you're now basically not doing it for your family, it becomes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So now how do we address those things? And there has to be a level of how we understand just family dynamics, especially in different contexts. And God has given us the wisdom from His Word for us to understand these things in a biblical perspective. And I think both of them should sit down and think of how they should address these things. That's why I'm saying it's an easy thing. It's about communication. Go back to the drawing board and say, look, okay, we have all these things.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Because even money, that's another thing. People, we glorify money so much. Money can go and come and go. It's easy to make. You can make money, but the other thing is, if money goes away, you can always, if you've got time, you can make that money again. You can start over. You can do whatever. All these things are just materialistic things.
Yeah.
And then this is why people now start wanting to now do sinful things, because of how attached they are to those idols that they have.
Yeah.
And because of that, they're now saying, no, it's my money. I want to do A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
And that's now the challenge that comes. Yeah.
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 No.
Anything you want to add?
No, not really, to be honest. I think we've addressed every element. I mean, there wasn't a question from that story. It was more the story, but I'm guessing she was looking for advice.
Yeah.
I think this is where you hope that, because I think she mentioned she spoke to his auntie who she's close to, but this is one of the things that will probably come to in a lot of our talks. People that are not family members that you can go and talk to and say, oh, Mr. Chakontas did this, and I feel like they would listen, or Mr. Chakontas would listen, vice versa. He can do the same thing. So in that situation, I don't, it was her. It seems that, because I think my advice would be: is there anybody that you can go and talk to, whether it's somebody at church, your pastors at church,
some
from friends that you can talk to,
wise friends.
Yes.
Let's put wise friends.
Yes, wise friends.
Mm-hmm.
Choose wisely. But yes, so I think that's because if you've tried to talk to him, perhaps he would listen to it when someone, there's a mediator, because we also don't know how you might have, somebody might have tried to speak to, because us women, when we're upset, we can just talk, and men don't like responding to when we're just running our mouths. So it just requires a mature conversation, and there's always a way forward. There's always a way forward. Okay, we've learned this has hurt me, this has hurt you. how can we build ourselves? How can we learn from this and move forward? Because there is, and I suppose I go back to something that you said before. You said, it's not as much of a tough situation as it seems when you read it.
Mm-hmm.
When you look deep down, it's about communication, but also we don't have his side of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So there is room for improving this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Thank you.
So this is
episode 2.
Is it episode? No, I think we're on episode 14.
Oh yes, episode 2 of this type. But yes.
Yeah, episode 2 of this type. But so if you're encouraged by what you're saying, and if you got any suggestions or what's this, leave it in the comments. We are now also on other streaming platforms, on Spotify, Apple Music.
Thank you.
Apple Podcast, and also Amazon Music.
Oh, you go, Mr. Chakontas.
So, we'll be putting all those things out there. So listen to us in whatever platform suits you. And
thank you so much for listening.
The ones who like our YouTube sites, subscribe, like, and
share.
Yes, and until next time, we are thankful for taking the time sitting down with us. And just discussing this situation, and hopefully that our insight has helped.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe we should have talked a little bit on the biblical side a bit more. We'll try our best to do that more, because I think the more we try these things, we'll get better. So be patient with us.
Thank you.
All right, then take care, and bye-bye.
And bye.